Now we will move on to another topic within the session, talking about LNG. We'll have Panayiotis Mitrou, who is Senior Client Support Manager at Lloyds Register, Hellenic Lloyds actually. We're talking for LNG. Hannos?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to present this hot topic for the present and the future. And we are not talking about science fiction here. In the first slide, the presentation slide, you see a vessel, a Ropax ferry, which is now serving a line between Finland and Sweden, and this burns LNG as a primary fuel. So, in order to talk about LNG, we have to see what lies ahead of us and what is the future ahead. In this timeline, you can see what will happen in the next 15 or more years. And what we have is, of course, the sulfur content limitation regulations, which will become applicable in the ECA's regions and outside ECA within the shown timeline. And of course, we have 3 phases of reduction of energy consumption with EEDI. On the other hand, as we have all seen, we will have other national, international, commercial measures increasing pressure on emissions and energy consumption. So, why LNG? We will refer to a quite fresh document. It is an EU Commission document entitled Actions Towards a Comprehensive EU Framework on LNG for Shipping. This was presented in January 2013, and among other, it says that the EU White Paper for Transport sets a greenhouse gas reduction goal of 40% by 2050, something well known, but we need to have this in mind. The LNG is the most promising alternative in shipping fuel technology, and of course it has the potential to decouple bunker prices from further increase. So, what would be the properties of the ideal fuel? The ideal fuel we are all looking for would be clean, cheap, alternative, and above all, safe. If it's clean, it will be environmentally sound, and it will have a social support. If it's cheap, it will be commercially accepted, and we will gain commercial acceptance. If it's alternative, it will be a strategic solution, and it will have political support. So, if it's safe also above all, we will have an ideal fuel. But let's see how LNG fits into this framework. So, about the LNG emission profile. The very good news is that we have almost an extinction of particulate matters and sulfur oxides. On the other hand, on the nitrogen oxides front, we will have an 80 to 90% reduction, while on the CO2 greenhouse gases front, we will have around 25% reduction. Not sufficient for the EU goals, not sufficient for EEDI, let's say, but it's most of the way. So, the story so far. Experience now mounts with hundreds of ships with dual fuel engines, either LNG carriers or other small vessels like offshore supply vessels which have already installed dual fuel engines. On the other hand, we have also hundreds of LNG ship-to-ship operations now carried out successfully. We have quite an experience there, so we will be able to support transfer operations for LNG as far as bunkering is concerned. The safety record for LNG from applications on land and offshore has now become very satisfactory, let's say, more than satisfactory. So this gives us the driver to move forward with LNG in shipping. So, as we have all seen, in the years to come, we will have the fuel question ahead of us. We have carried out a research quite some time now, in 2011. And we have seen that ship owners see LNG-fueled engines as a viable solution in the long term. Low sulfur distillate fuel will be a short-term solution, while scrubbers and other relevant abatement technologies in the present time seem only like a medium-term option. On the price side, that you may not find so easy to read there, we see that LNG is definitely cheaper than gas oil, and in many parts of the world it's cheaper than heavy fuel oil. And if we also take into account the fact that its calorific value is greater, in practical terms it's cheaper than heavy fuel oil as well. With the commercial aspect of this, we have a problem. The LNG market is not the same all over the world. You will see great fluctuations between different geographical areas. It's certain that the cheapest LNG is in Louisiana, and the US has proceeded with strong investment, large investment there, and they will soon be exporting because at the price that we see here, some wells will cease work. So it is suggested that with LNG trades development, we will have some rationalization of the market in the years to come. But currently we have a mess, let's say, in terms of fluctuations. If we talk about LNG routes and bunker locations, I want to make this clear. We're talking prospective bunker locations because you will not see here all the points. The points that you will see here are not bunker locations already, but we see that we have a concentration of routes of shipments in certain routes. So these routes and shipments are going to be covered in the first place. So if we check bunker locations and LNG terminal locations, which represent a good opportunity for LNG bunkering infrastructure and barges, we will see that as the current situation shows, we have a potential to support LNG bunkering operations in the years to come with the investment in LNG infrastructure. Of course, if we're talking about infrastructure, we will say that the LNG in shipping presents the chicken-egg situation, where ship owners are waiting for the infrastructure to develop, while the gas providers will wait for ship owners to invest on LNG-fueled vessels. But for the time being, we have LNG used as a fuel in Norwegian coastal waters. We have studies around the globe being undertaken currently. We have LNG bunkering infrastructure developed in Rotterdam, Antwerp, Singapore, and other ports. But we have to say here clearly that the scale factor still exists. So when we were talking about infrastructure development, in some occasions we're talking about trucks. These are not ways that can support LNG as fuel for deep sea shipping. On the other hand, we have a major oil company building LNG fuel plants in US and Canada, and the major laker operator has already signed a contract to work with this major. We have a gas company determined to avail LNG bunkering in the Baltic. We have a new initiative in Yangtze River in China. And of course, we have also seen a recent feasibility study for LNG in Australian ports, which shows that feasibility is sufficient, is satisfactory, and in the best case scenarios, this could be real by 2016. Talking a bit on the EU case, we recently saw the rollout of the European Clean Fuel Strategy. The European Commission is proposing that LNG fuel will be available in all 139 maritime and inland ports by 2020 for the maritime ports and 2025 for inland ports. On the other hand, the EU showed determination to proceed with the low sulfur content by Directive 2012-33, which says that we will move on with the sulfur content limit by 2020, irrespective of any decision of IMO. And we have also seen financial instruments being available to support LNG infrastructure as a fuel in shipping. And they don't hesitate to mention that the European Investment Bank will have to finance transport and shipping loans in the future with respect to such projects. And they openly admit that LNG as fuel is an opportunity for European shipyards and equipment manufacturers. So, where do we stand with the regulations? We have the development of the IGF code in IMO. We've seen quite some progress with BLG 17 a few months ago. We are still waiting with a guideline for LNG bunkering, which is carried out by Technical Committee 67 Working Group 10 of ISO. We have seen many class societies issuing class rules, especially for gas-fueled vessels, as Lloyds Register has done already so. And we have seen initiatives from EMSA and the EU to propose a set of rules, and of course other initiatives like the World Ports Climate Initiative, relevant regulations which are related to the gas-fueled ships matters, like the gas code, the SIGTOR, guidelines on STS, etc. So, with LNG as fuel, we have a great opportunity for the first time, I could say, to instead of not let's say instead, but in conjunction with prescriptive rules, we will have a risk-based approach. So we will have a prescriptive rules as a rule as we did all this time, all these years with classification, but we will also have the possibility to proceed with a risk-based approach. The key hazards identified so far for such an approach, key hazards among other, I have to say, is the existence of gas in non-gas carrier type ships, the low and high rate gas leakage. You have to imagine that we may have a gas leak and a gas cloud on ships with passengers talking on their mobiles, and this is something that we will have to take very good care of and really tackle. We will have the issue of gas fuel tank location, which, if we're talking about location on deck, things are not easy but are more straightforward. But if we're talking about a location under deck and a contained location, a confined location, then there are numerous issues to discuss on. Vapor management and bunkering are also key hazards for the risk-based approach in LNG as fuel. So we have also seen recently an EMSA report and some regulatory gaps. And these are some of them. The most important of them is that the bunkering procedure, the bunkering guideline we are awaiting, it's not a legally binding document. So we will need to have that as well. The use of portable tanks, especially for containers, the crew training requirements, the accreditation criteria for LNG bunkering companies activated in LNG, the common risk assessment acceptance criteria, which are not common in the present condition, Simultaneous activities with LNG bunkering, like, as we said, passengers on board. We have no international standards for the specification of LNG as fuel, and we have no standard for the equipment associated with LNG, like, for example, the emergency shutdown devices. In a brief, let's say, reference, okay, I will only say that we don't have a solution yet for EEDI and LNG fueled engines. So, except if LNG is the primary fuel, we will not be able to support the improvement of EEDI. I will skip the way forward, and concluding the drivers and threats, we have LNG pricing and supply that will either drive or threat LNG, pricing and scarcity of competitive fuels, the sulfur content global limit implementation in 2020 or 25, the capital expense involved, which is enormous with current conditions, the bunkering supply, which of course is the #1 issue. If you cannot bunker, you cannot use LNG. The substitutes, which are also a threat, if you have methanol or hydrogen in few years' time, and the whole investment in LNG is gone, and the regulatory uncertainties, and of course the social risk if you have something like an accident or so. So what can we do? At the moment, there is quite an uncertainty. We cannot take a decision with some confidence. We have to see all the regulations holistically and find solutions that will cover the whole framework. And of course, we have to synergize and seek opportunities. And one last reference, what we do, we develop tools, we do research, and we have already applied specific tools for LNG design optimization, LNG as fuel design optimization and risk assessment. Thank you.